Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Levinton, and this is my assistive technology professional development video on speech to text software for the deaf or the hearing impaired. So, what will be covered in this professional development video is the benefits of speech to text software, some expectations of educators, in other words, things that educators should know about the software in order to better assist their students. Then we're going to talk about some different platforms where speech-to-text software may be necessary. And then we will compare them with different prices compared to the ones that are free. And then just generally how to choose the right speech-to-text software for your students. So as far as responsibility and the people who are responsible for giving student accommodations who are hearing impaired, that is responsible of the school under the IDEA and Section 504 of Rehabilitation Act. So that is, again, for the accommodations piece of helping students who are hearing impaired. The cochlear implant or the hearing aids that students get, that's actually gotten through their health insurance and what they're able to afford. So some challenges that come with a student who is deaf or hearing impaired, and we're talking about students even who have the hearing technology. So the first and most obvious challenge that you'll face is the student's inability to hear affects information processing as well as their ability to speak. So if a student receives hearing technology, say in seventh grade or even fifth grade, in other words, in times where they should have been able to speak the whole time, that is years and years of times that they have not been able to develop their speech. So sometimes students get that hearing technology, and a lot of people, what they think is once you get the cochlear implant or you get the hearing aid, then all of a sudden the problem's solved. That's not the case because of all the compounded issues that come before you receive that. Secondly, the technology that they received doesn't necessarily give the students the ability to discriminate between different sounds. And I know that just as a person in a classroom, you can understand how distracting 23 students yelling can be. Well, a student who is not necessarily used to their hearing and just received that assistive technology to help them hear, they have an even harder time with discriminating between the instructor's sounds and other sounds around them. In addition to that, cochlear implants, and this is according to the IEP that I read for my student who's hearing impaired, it says that cochlear implants do not provide an ability to hear that is comparable to a student with normal hearing. So just because they're able to hear doesn't mean that they're on the same playing field as a student who is already able to hear. Another thing too is that depending on the hearing technology you use, both ears need to be tested regularly because one might be affected differently than another. So you need to go ahead and test for that, and that takes time in the school day. And then finally, a normal day can be more exhausting for a student who is hearing impaired compared to an individual who does not have any hearing issues, just to the demand in speech and language development. So if you imagine a student who is struggling in class and doesn't understand your subject very well, and you notice they just get more and more tired from asking questions over and over and over, that is something that is heightened even more by a hearing impaired student because they are spending a lot of time trying to understand what you are saying just through their ability to finally hear, and that can get very tiresome. And my student, who we talk about very frequently, who is hearing impaired, she is someone who has issues and she does get more fatigued later in the day due to just all of the information processing. So this is just a list of some technology that students receive if they are hearing impaired. And the reason why I bring it up is that I think it ties directly into speech-to-text software. So it's just something that I wanted to very quickly cover. So the first thing is a hearing aid. Now that's just something that goes into your ear, and it's not really for someone who's completely deaf. It's just for someone who struggles with their hearing. And basically what the hearing aid does is it amplifies the noise. This is different from what's called a cochlear implant, which I have in our second bullet. And I'm not sure why my text just cut off there, but that's okay. Basically, a cochlear implant is something that is attached directly to the auditory nerve, and that enables the student's ability to actually hear. So this implant is meant for students who cannot hear at all, and it does give them that ability to finally start using their auditory nerves and hear. The third type of assistive technology that you will see a student using is a frequency modulation system. So this is a wireless device that the instructor will wear around their neck, and it will be put right here. And the idea is this frequency modulation system has a microphone that you can speak into, and then that microphone broadcasts a radio signal of the sound you are putting in into the student's ears, rather into their cochlear implant or their hearing aid. So it's very useful to keep them focused during instruction and keep them from being distracted from other noises. One thing that I'll note about using the FM system, I've used it many times myself, is that you want to pay attention to whether or not the device is on or off. If you keep it on while you're speaking to another student in the classroom, and maybe you're talking about something personal, maybe you're just talking about what the quotient of 3 and 4 is, I don't know. But the idea is that you want that student to not be able to hear every little thing that you're saying, so you turn it off unless you're at the front of the room. Then finally, I'll group all these together. A student with hearing difficulties is going to have a very, very extensive team helping them out in school. One is a teaching assistant who will transcribe everything that is said in the classroom by the instructor. And that's very important, which is something I'm going to cover and does tie directly into speech-to-text software. Then you have a speech language therapist who does oral rehabilitation services. And then the student has access to assistive technology, and they can actually use that assistive technology, iPad, laptop, anything like that, to actually have real-time closed captioning, which I will get into. Okay, so some benefits of speech-to-text software. Just first and foremost, it eliminates the barrier of needing to hear in order to receive instruction in the first place. It's something that in today's world is very, very flexible, so it can be used on just about any type of device, so an iPad, a laptop, a cell phone. It can also be able to be used in different settings other than a classroom, so a student who is working at home will benefit quite a bit from closed captioning if you do something like flipped classroom where you're using classroom videos. And just this, eliminating this barrier helps the student to be able to participate. And also you can use it in an online environment. So, right now all of us are in the middle of distance learning. So this is a situation where it can be quite useful. And also you can use it for individual remote tutoring. And again, that can be done on Zoom or it can be done on Skype. Drawbacks to the software is that sometimes they're not always going to work exactly the way you want them to. So if you're using kind of a crappy microphone and you're kind of far away from it and you're mumbling a little bit and you're not speaking very well, then that's something that will give you an inaccurate transcription. And also, if you're not speaking clearly, just think about somebody typing what you're saying. If they can't understand exactly what you're saying, then that is something that can be very difficult. The other drawback or kind of difficulty with it is that sometimes you do the captioning separately and you need to type it out, and then you need to add it in later. And sometimes that can be very laborious. But the main drawback with that is that you do need another individual to do it. So that needs to be provided by the institution, or it needs to be provided in some other way in order for a student to receive closed captioning sometimes. Okay, so just something to note, if you are someone who is developing an instructional video and you want to use closed captioning, make sure you're speaking clearly, make sure you're speaking at a good volume, and also a good pace for an accurate caption. And also, you can improve the captioning quality and the accuracy of how you're being captioned by holding a good headset microphone and holding that close to your speaker's mouth. Here's some platforms that I have found for speech-to-text software, which could be useful. So the main thing that I use for my flipped classroom, particularly in distance learning, is YouTube. So I make sure that every single video I have is uploaded to YouTube so that my student who is hearing impaired can use closed captioning. And it's very useful for them. They tell me they really like that they have YouTube. And on top of that, I get a lot of good feedback from the mother who tells me that I speak at a good pace and I speak at a good volume. And she says that is something that really improves the closed captioning in the video itself. As far as how to add the captions, they're usually automatically uploaded with your video when you're speaking through it. But if you want to go ahead and add certain captions or you want to edit them even, what you can do is you can go into YouTube, you can go to the Help Center, then you can go to Edit or Remove Captions down here. Another huge benefit is you can actually add in different languages if you want to. So if you sign into the YouTube video, you go to the left over here and you click on subtitles, just another word for closed captioning. And then you pick a video, and then you can actually add different languages, and you can make sure that you have, say, I don't know, I have a student who's Ukrainian who would have benefited a lot from this last year if I was able to put Ukrainian subtitles into his videos. That is something that would have solved a very serious language barrier that I had with him last year. So just something to keep in mind. You are able to add the captions into YouTube. You don't have to just take the ones they give you. So as I mentioned before, since we're all in distance learning, I thought I'd add something with Zoom, but again, this would be useful for remote tutoring. So the first thing is adding captions into Zoom in the first place. So a quick video here kind of demonstrates what the person does. So I'm going to mute this. So if you look here, you go to meeting settings after you open your meeting, and then you can turn on closed captioning right here. And then what that enables is your ability to go ahead and give a closed caption option. And let me just go back here so you can click. But you can click on the closed caption option. And when you do it, you notice that it doesn't automatically roll in the captions like YouTube does. So you have to have somebody else who is willing to type while you are speaking, and then regular instruction can continue as you are going through your lesson. So you need to make sure that a student is, or rather an individual is assigned to type the closed caption, and then as they type it in while you are speaking, then that is something that will appear on their screen. And you see right here, they type it in. And then at the very end, you can save your closed caption history, and then you can upload that with your video file because you can record things in Zoom. Another way that you can have captions that's not live in Zoom is you can upload a Zoom video that you recorded up to YouTube, and that does the job. You can get your captions that way as well. As far as using transcription services, though, this is kind of the cool thing that Zoom has. One thing that you can do is not only can you add the captions in, but once you have the Zoom link taken care of, you can upload it as a video in here. And you see here, this is the instructor up here. This is the video that they're working with. And then on the right, it has all the transcriptions with the timestamps. So you can actually click right in here and you can type in a keyword that maybe you wanted instruction on before. And then what you can do is you can search through all of the timestamps where the instructor talks about that specific keyword just by clicking search. So this person right here is going to type in Android, and you see here that you get all of the different captions that are highlighted in yellow that contain the keyword that you want. So very, very beneficial to any learner actually, but certainly a student who is hearing impaired. Okay, so now let's get into some more of the real-time captioning that you have access to. So one thing that my student uses in our school is something called CPrint. And this is what our aide utilizes in order for her to be able to type what is being said in class. And again, this is just another short video showing what CPrint looks like. So basically what happens is the aide will type in different abbreviations, and then they're able to go ahead and look through and type exactly what is being said. And there's two different ways that a hearing impaired student can take advantage of this. One main advantage that they can do is they can hold the device or the iPad in front of them and they can follow along with what is being said, or they can access the text later after the lesson is over and they're able to figure out what they said afterwards. My student right now doesn't keep a device in front of her, although at one point it was a very useful thing to have because she was her I believe her cochlear implant was malfunctioned, and so the C print was what she was able to use in a desperate or a dire measure. So as far as finding C print, you can get C print training guides. This one I found from the Rochester Institute of Technology, and what they have in here is they have a training guide for CPrint, then they have the actual software, and then they also have a server where you can use it as well. So as you see here, you have the training, and the training, let's just take a look at the price, is $450. Then you have the server, and the server is $330. So you can see it's there's a cost to using CPrint, and that again is something that ideally should be paid for by the school, but I'm not sure if an aide is supposed to go ahead and get this training themselves, and that is how they get hired. But I am not entirely sure about this. So with this, um, with the CPrint is administered by something called cart service. So this is something that is done at a school, and you see this is a captioning demo. And if I click through this, there's one portion of the lesson where there's a presenter, and you can see the person working in cart service typing in what is being said in real time. And this is very helpful for a student who is hearing impaired. This is, if you're seeing what is being said the entire time, maybe you missed a part of the lesson, you didn't hear it very well, and you're able to just go ahead and go back that as a reference. And again, that is something that is beneficial to all students, not just students who are hearing impaired. And finally, another paid type of streamer software, I'm sorry, not streamer software, closed caption software is the Streamer Interact software. So Streamer Interact software is a live class experience captioning service that does not require another person. So when I spoke with our lead person on speech pathology, she was talking to me about how the Streamer Interact software works quite well as long as you're speaking clearly with the microphone, although sometimes it can be a little inaccurate. But I'll just go into that really quickly. So the Streamer Interact software, this is taking its time. The Streamer Interaction software, again, it's something that's purchased as a subscription service. So you can get a free trial that is 30 days for no cost, or you can have the payment of $9.97 per month for 12 months, for 2 to 9 months. And then for 12 months, it's just a one-time fee of $99. And so each month by month or annual captioning and language translation subscription includes one virtual room and up to 30 participants in that room. So in the Streamer itself, you need to use their room in order to be able to use the Streamer. If you don't, then what you need to do is upload the file after you have produced it. So again, this is another short video. I'm only going to show you guys a portion of this. But what you have to do is you need to open the software and you have to set it to record. So this is the software here, and you can see up here there's different rooms that the instructor is using, and all of this text that has appeared right in front of you is something that has been generated by the program via speech. So the person speaks, and then at the very end, what they're doing is they're turning it off, and then they're saving the file to be uploaded later with the instruction as well. And that is pretty much it. You can see here, this is a little bit of instruction for school live stream. Basically, you go to the website, you type in the URL, and then you can sign in as a guest. And this is something that you can use here as kind of a platform for your school live streaming. And this is something that you guys can check out and try out. It may be very beneficial to your students if you don't have somebody who is able to type in the captions for you. Okay, so for more tutorials on how to add caption files to any website at all, I found this pretty nifty section at Washington University, or sorry, University of Washington. And this is the URL right here, washington.edu/accessibility/videos/free captioning. And they have several lists and several very detailed tutorials over here, like you see, where you can add captions to Zoom, Facebook, you can add it to Canvas, or anything that you really want. So a lot of those instructions that I got come from that website. And this is just, again, the laundry list of different websites. This is also from University of Washington for the free software. So the one that I use more closely is YouTube, but there's also amara.org, .sub.org, Subtitle Horse. All of them work very well and they're free. And then on Zoom, we talked about that as well. And then the cPrint and the Streamer Interact software, those are captioning services that you do pay for. And the cPrint would be one where you use an external employee to type things in, whereas the Streamer Interact software is something that you don't need somebody else, but you do have to pay for the subscription service. So finally, to close, one thing to keep in mind is that when you are using captioning services, very often all of the process is just about the same. So again, this is all just instructions from University of Washington. And it says here you want to upload the video to the web. If you use YouTube, then you're going to have captions that are put in there anyways. But if you want to be able to add your own captions to it, then you need to create the file with the captions, and depending on how accurate you want them to be, you do it while you're watching the video, or you use cPrint if you're somebody who's doing it in real time, and then you upload the captioning services with it. And then you guys should be good to go to help all of your students who are having hearing issues. So take care, everyone. I hope that this was a helpful video on how to assist your students who are hearing impaired using speech-to-text software. And again, just keep in mind that this is a process that is done by many different individuals, not just yourself. So if you have a student who is hearing impaired, a lot of the anxiety that you're feeling should be relieved by the fact that the school is supposed to be equipped to take care of them. So take care, everybody.